Professor Yu, it's always great to talk to you.
Great to be back.
All right, a lot of anticipation about the president's announcement. Now, if you were advising President Trump on who the best person to pick for a seat on the Supreme Court, who would that person be and why?
Well, first, I think that most of the people on his list of 25 people are committed to the text and original understanding of the Constitution. That should be number one. So I think when he's got people like Kavanaugh or Barrett or Kethledge on his top three list, I think he can't go wrong. After that, I would say, look at electoral advantage. Who's going to help Republicans win the midterms? Who's going to help President Trump win re-election? So when you look at it that way, I would say pick someone from a battleground state, someone who's well known in a place that Trump flipped from the Democratic column to the Republican column in the last election, and he needs to win those states to get reelected again.
A lot of people did cite the Supreme Court as the reason why they voted for President Trump. Now, speaking on some of the specific candidates out there, the New York Times is reporting that Trump has, quote, all but ruled out Judge Raymond Kethledge. Now, the Times also reports that some conservatives are not fans of Kethledge when it comes to his rulings on immigration. In 2013, he sided with an illegal immigrant who had overstayed his visa and spent a decade in the U.S. trying to get an employment visa. There was another case where he joined an opinion that blocked the deportation of an immigrant who was in the U.S. on a green card. That immigrant then went on to lie on his citizen application and also went on to commit grand theft auto. Now, John, Kethledge's immigration stance does not seem to be in line with Trump's. Does that matter that much? Do you think Trump's actually considering that, going back and looking at prior rulings, as I just mentioned?
I could see Trump doing that because immigration seems to be one of his top tier issues, but I don't think it matters. When it comes to lower court judges, they have to follow Supreme Court precedent and even the precedent from their own circuits. And these immigration cases, they hear thousands of them, and people may make mistakes, or maybe that the law required these outcomes. I'm sure actually Judge Kethledge, being the kind of guy he is, judge he is, wasn't trying to misapply the law to favor one side or the other. What's more important is to look at their speeches and the opinions where they had to interpret the Constitution, because that's why when you say voters voted for Trump because of the Supreme Court, they're not voting for him because of how they apply every nook and cranny of immigration law. They're looking to how they can interpret things like individual rights, about privacy, about Roe versus Wade, about gay marriage.
There's another issue here that's been brought up a lot, and the Supreme Court, of course, is notorious for being made up of individuals of a certain age. Right now, the youngest person on the bench is Neil Gorsuch. He's 50 years old. The oldest justice is Ruth Bader Ginsburg at 85. The final four range in age between 46 and 53 years old. Should age be any kind of determining factor in this selection process? Does it matter?
It does matter. It matters a lot, and particularly for Republican presidents, because Republican presidents like Trump, like Bush, like Reagan want to have influence many years after they've left the Oval Office. And so if they can be sure to pick a conservative, then of course you'd want a younger one rather than an older one. I think that older justices, they tend to stay on the court less, and they may have less influence overall. So Trump, of course, should want to pick a younger justice.
We'll see. As we mentioned, they're all around a little bit younger of an age than most of the justices on the bench. John Yu, as always, it's great to get your insight on these matters. Thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks again.